Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagawan. Dearest Swami, respected elders, dear brothers and sisters. What I wish to share with you is one very bizarre incident in my life. I say it is bizarre because the way things happened were very funny and crazy and scary at the same time. But like all experiences with Swami, this experience also taught me some very, very profound truths of life. Let me directly get into this story, and I invite you to enjoy this roller coaster ride along with me. Let's go back to the 7th of June 2009. That day was not a very happy day for me because I got scolded by my director, G. Venkatraman sir, at Radio Sai Global Harmony. That is where I was working at that point in time. He was unhappy with the way I had been taking video of Swami the previous day. What had happened was Swami had visited the university auditorium and he had delivered a discourse there, and I was right beside him with the video camera shooting that event. And you know what happens, right? When Swami is physically so close to you, you're so overwhelmed by his presence. How much ever time you may spend in his physical presence, every time you see him is such a beautiful and overwhelming experience. It becomes very hard to focus on the task at hand because here is Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram in front of you. And that is what had happened with me also that day. I kept looking at Swami and I just wished that I could do away with the video camera and I could just look at him. And on a couple of occasions, the fan that was beside Swami, it was blowing so hard that Swami's hair was flying and Swami seemed a little uncomfortable. So I ran and adjusted the fan. I did all these things. And the next day, very correctly, Venkatraman sir was telling me that when I am on duty, I am supposed to focus and do my duty well. It makes sense, right? It is so important because the footage that has been shot that day is going to be so critical for years, decades, centuries, millennia to come, because this is the avatar's footage. And just because I got distracted, I got emotionally pulled, I cannot afford to do a shoddy job there. But as he was telling me this, he was telling it quite strictly and I became a little emotional. At the end of it, I just bent my head and said, "Sir, I will not do any more shooting again. I will not do shooting." He was taken aback because that is not what the response he was expecting from me. But as I said, I became very emotional and I spoke that way. And I'm grateful to Venkatraman sir for having understood that I was very emotional and speaking that way, because he didn't speak further on that subject. He said, "Be careful what you speak. Don't speak like this." I said, "No, I will not shoot anymore. If you think that I'm not doing properly, I won't shoot then." And I had walked out. Usually when I narrate this episode which I'm planning to narrate today, I don't narrate this aspect. But while going through my personal diary, I got to know of this incident and I feel even this is connected, and that is the reason I shared it. As you will see, that evening, the 7th of June, I went to play shuttle badminton in the indoor stadium, and when I jumped up to hit a smash, I landed wrongly on my right foot. My ankle twisted and I fell down in pain. I had hurt my ankle. But then immediately as people came, they tried to, massage my foot, tried to see if anything was broken. There was pain, but that match was in a very exciting stage and I was on the verge of winning it. There was an adrenaline rush that was going on in me, and so I said, "Okay, let me play and finish this match." I played and finished that match with the pain. I won it also. I was very happy and I felt that that pain would go off on its own. I also realized what is the power of the adrenaline rush, because that night as I lay down in bed in my room, I was all alone there, physically, because we are never alone in life. Swami is always with us, whether we realize it or not. I in fact keep his photographs with me in my room, in my home, on my computer, everywhere, to remind me that he is with me always. The truth is, Swami is always with us. We are never alone. But at a physical level, I was alone that night in the room, and it was unbearable pain. I was trying my best to go to sleep, because sleep has its magical way of healing us, calming us, giving us comfort. But the pain in the leg was so severe that I could not even sleep. And the first thought that came in my mind was, oh my God, how will I ever do photography and videography? Those were the days when, though officially I was not Swami's photographer, Swami, in his infinite love, in his infinite mercy, would always look at me and lovingly call me to photograph anything that had to be done, anything that had to be photographed. And informally, I was like Swami's photographer. And that was the greatest opportunity. That is the greatest opportunity I can ever get in this life. And I felt that now my leg is in such pain. I was sure that there's a fracture or something, and I will be missing out on being Swami's photographer for maybe a month or 2 months. I don't know how much. That is when it struck me that in the morning I had said I will stop taking videos and photos in my emotion and anger. And I don't know, I have no way to prove that this incident, this accident that happened was a result of me saying that. But something in me struck me so strongly. It made me think that I should be very careful in what I think and what I speak. See, because Swami tells us we are all divine, whether we accept it or not. It's the truth, we are divine. It's like, gravity exists. It pulls everything towards the ground, whether I believe it or not. Even if I don't believe in gravity and I step off a building, I will come crashing to the ground, because that's the truth. It doesn't depend on my belief. In the same way, whether I believe it or not, Swami says all of us are divine and all of us are divine, which means our thoughts and words are divine thoughts and divine words. And if we think and speak things that are harmful to us, we will come to harm. That's why Swami says, watch your words, W, watch your action, watch your thoughts, watch your character, watch your heart. That is the inner meaning of Swami gifting us a watch. That is what Swami would say whenever he gifts anybody a watch. And I felt that, oh my God, today morning I said I will not be doing any more photography, and guess what? Even if I try now, I won't be able to do photography. And so that night, writhing in pain, I was wondering how I would last through the night. Because I just was praying that it should become morning soon so that I can go to the hospital. And the next day morning, 7 o'clock, I called one of my colleagues and I said, I know I'm calling you early in the morning, but can you please come and take me to the hospital, to the emergency? I'm in severe pain. I had barely slept the whole night because the pain had not allowed me to sleep. So I went to the super specialty hospital on the 8th of June 2009, and there the x-rays were taken, the tests were done, and Dr. Prakash, the head of the orthopedic department there, he told me, you're lucky that you have just escaped a fracture, but then you're not so lucky also because there has been an injury to your ankle, to the soft tissues there, and sometimes a fracture is better than an injury to the soft tissues because a fracture heals definitely within 4 weeks. These tissue injuries, I have no idea how long it may take. But I would recommend that I will put your right leg in cast for at least 4 weeks so that those tissues get time to recover and hopefully there's no long-term damage. And thus, my leg was cast in a cast. Now in the afternoon, after all this happened, I lay down to rest and I had a dream in which Swami came. But it was not a very happy dream, if I can say so. See, today I miss Swami so much that I'm ready for any dream. Swami, come and scold me in the dream, no problem. Swami, do anything in the dream. I just want to see you, Swami. I miss you so much. And for some strange reason, I don't seem to be getting dreams of Swami now. But those were beautiful times when I would get Swami's dreams so frequently. So frequently that I could classify dreams as happy dreams and sad dreams. So that day I got a sad dream in a sense, because in the dream, Swami was walking to various places and I was following him with a cast on my right leg. The cast was there. And for some strange reason, Swami was not wanting to look at me. Swami seemed unhappy with me and he didn't want to see me at all. And when I woke up after that afternoon siesta, I was wondering as to what is the meaning of the dream. It's very, very difficult to interpret Swami's dream. It is only Swami who has to give us the meaning. That's why when I get Swami's dream, I don't try to ask somebody else or any place else search for its meaning. Because the meaning will come from within, from the heart. Swami has given the dream, Swami has to give the meaning. And that day I just felt that the dream possibly meant that Swami was unhappy about my leg being in the cast. At a physical level, I felt Swami did not want to see my leg in a cast. So I came upon a very nice plan as to how I would sit on the steps during darshan. There were steps that led to the dais and I would often be sitting there with my camera. So I thought it's a nice opportunity. I can sit there on the steps and I can keep my leg in such a manner that Swami at a physical level, because at a divine level he knows everything, at a physical level he won't be able to make out that my leg is in cast. I would sit cross-legged, hiding my right leg under my left leg, and my pant would be covering most of the cast anyway. This was my plan and it worked very well. This went on for a few days. So after Swami would receive Aarti and leave, I would get up and ask for my crutch. There was one single-handed crutch that would be brought, and using that crutch I would hobble out of the mandir, from where one of my colleagues would pick me up on his vehicle and drop me to my room or to the studio, wherever I needed to go. And this was how it went on. One day, as darshan and bhajan got over, Jai Bolo Bhagawan Shri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai, and Swami left, I got up, and as I was walking out of the mandir, I was accosted by Vedanarayan sir. Vedanarayan sir, everyone knows him in the Sai world. I mean, it's amazing how he has been named also Vedanarayan, because his name and his life's mission seem to be in sync. They are in sync. He is Swami's chosen instrument to chant the Vedas in his physical presence for so many years. So Vedanarayan sir was my Sanskrit teacher at school. I hold him in great regard. He came walking to me and he said, "Arvind, if you don't mind, let me tell you this. This fracture of yours," he didn't know that it was not a fracture, but he told me, "This fracture of yours is because of somebody's Drishti. So kindly put rock salt in a bucket of water and have bath." For those of you who are wondering what is meant by Drishti, Drishti translates as vision, but it is also called the evil eye. Let me just briefly explain what this evil eye is. When evil eye basically means a flow of negative energy. When somebody looks at you enviously or with jealousy or with hatred, there is negative energy that is generated. This negative energy is like acid, It harms the vessel in which it is stored, but it also harms the vessel on which it is poured. So, if you become the subject of envy, hatred or jealousy, while the person who is envious or jealous or filled with hatred definitely gets affected, you also get affected to a certain extent. And therefore, especially in our Bharatiya Indian culture, people would be very, very humble about their achievements. They would not want it to be glorified. And if somebody would glorify them and say, "This is a great person who did this, who achieved this, hats off to him," they would just get embarrassed and say, no, just stop it. They didn't want it. Because, even among well-wishers, a kind of envy comes, a kind of jealousy comes. It's not like a negative jealousy, but even a thought like, oh, how I wish I could do that. Oh, all good things seem to be happening to this person. All nice things only happen. How lucky this person is. Even that, has that tinge of jealousy, tinge of a lack, tinge of negativity that strikes. Now, this is called Drishti. And as I said, it's not only among people who hate us or who are jealous of us that it arises. For instance, when you take your little baby out for a function, everybody keeps saying, oh, so sweet the baby is, oh, so cute the baby is. And then the family members themselves come and tell, please take Drishti, Nazar utaro, Nazar utaro, remove Nazar, remove Drishti, because I have cast my Drishti. Like that cuteness, that sweetness, they say, oh, so sweet, oh, so cute. Though it is love that is coming, but there is possibly a feeling of, oh, how I wish I could have a baby like this, or how I wish this sweetness I could experience. Something is there. And therefore, even your own family members come and tell, please remove Drishti. That's why you will see, especially among people in Bharat, nobody likes to put pictures or videos of their babies out. And on Instagram or social media, they don't want to share too much of it because they don't want their children to suffer from this Drishti or evil eye. So as a Drishti pariharam, or as a way to ward off this evil eye, what do? Purposely do some disfigurement, Put a black dot on the cheek or big dot, black dot on the forehead, slightly. And they call it the beauty spot. But practically, if you see, you feel that, hey, the beauty of the baby is getting reduced because of that. Good. It's like a Drishti pariharam. Don't want people to praise my baby so much. I don't want people to say, oh, this baby is so cute. Put salt on yourself. Something like that, just dress soberly. Don't dress very grand. No need to be the cynosure of all eyes. No need. That's why Swami would say, dress clean and neat, but modest, not showy. When anybody looks at you, they should feel, here he is neat, he is clean. It need not be that wherever you walk, everybody's attention is drawn towards you. It's all so subtle. And we wonder, because we live so much in the physical world, we wonder what is all this. It's all superstition, it's nonsense. Even I felt like that, I felt, oh, this is all superstition. But as I said, Vedanarayan sir is somebody whom I respect a lot, whom I regard a lot. And I know he has spent so many years with Swami. So that made me take it a bit seriously. And I thought, oh my God, maybe this thing works. So I told Vedanarayan sir that I would take his advice. I would go home and put some rock salt in water and have a bath. I don't know how that will help in removing the Drishti, but whatever. I have seen people turn the coconut in the reverse order, reverse way. Even for Swami, people would remove Drishti. Not that Swami requires it, but people out of their love for Swami. Because as soon as Swami comes, all of us look at him. Oh, how sweet, how wonderful, how magnificent, how kind, how awesome the Lord is. So you will see people take the coconut and turn it in the anti-clockwise direction. That's one way of removing Drishti. Now, interestingly, as I continued to hobble on, I was accosted by another teacher whom I respect and regard so highly, Bhagya sir. Now, Bhagya sir comes to me and says, Arvind, if you don't mind, I'll tell you something. Yes, sir, please tell me. See, your fracture, I think it has happened because somebody has cast an evil eye on you. The second person within 2 minutes, and a second person whom I regard and revere so highly. So he said, please do something to remove Drishti because, I think this is because of the evil eye. It hit me so much, So I went back. I went back to the studio. I sat in my small room that was there with Swami's photograph. I sat there looking at Swami's photo and I was speaking to Swami. I said, Swami, what does this mean? Does this mean that what I am suffering from is not a medical issue but a Drishti issue? It's because of somebody's evil eye? I think so, because what are the chance of two people coming and telling the same thing? I think this is your way of sending me a message. And therefore, Swami, in 2 days' time now, It was the 15th of June. A week had passed since my leg had been in cast. And all this while, as I said, Swami has physically not seen my leg in cast. Otherwise, most probably he would have asked what has happened. But why I had not shown him? Because of that dream where I felt Swami didn't want to see it. And so, trusting my understanding of that dream, I had not shown this physically to Swami. So I said, Swami, in 2 days' time, on the 18th of June, there is going to be a program in the mandir. And then, if I am not doing photography, definitely at a physical level, you will ask me why I am not doing photography. And I will have to tell you about my cast. There is no way I can do photography with a cast on because I will be limping. So, Swami, here's my proposal to you. I would always consider Swami at two different levels. One the divine Swami, one the physical Swami. And it's so beautiful. It is the same and yet you do this. I told Swami that, Swami, you don't want to see my leg in cast, right? And you have already indicated to me that this is because of Drishti. It's not a medical issue. So tomorrow, I wish to go to the hospital and get the cast removed. 2 days are there before the program starts. So in those 2 days, I will practice walking and I will make my gait normal so that I will be able to do photography when the program is there. And at a physical level, you will never get to know that I had a cast. And Swami, anyway, I don't need the cast, right? Because it's not a medical issue. It's a Drishti issue. What do you think about this, Swami? I asked. And I made 2 chits. 2 pieces of paper on which, on one of them I wrote, go tomorrow to the hospital and get the cast removed. On the other I wrote, don't get the cast removed, manage with the cast. And both these chits I put in front of Swami and I picked up one of the chits after praying, and the answer that came there was, yes, go ahead and get the cast removed in the hospital the next day. So I decided that this is what I would do. For those who are unaware of this, it might feel strange, but when you have faith, it works. In fact, you can watch this one video about putting chits in front of Bhagawan, and you can learn from that. The morning of the 16th of June, I woke up and I said, Swami, today I am going to go and get the cast removed. I touched my chest and felt the pendant and gold chain that Swami had materialized for me on the 14th of January 2005. That speech and that story is another unforgettable one. I won't go into that now, but I held on to that and I said, Swami, when you are there protecting me, what can anybody's Nazar, Drishti or evil eye do to me? So, with complete faith in you, in your protection, I will go and get this cast removed today. And then I got up so that I could go and have my bath, after which I planned to go to the hospital. Even as I got up, I heard one snap sound and I felt something slithering in my chest like a snake. When I looked inside my shirt, I just wished that it could be a snake, because what I saw was something more horrifying, more horrific, more horrifying. The gold chain that Swami had given me, which I had held just a few moments back, saying, Swami, when you are there, what can happen to me? It had snapped. It had snapped and the chain had fallen into my banyan. I got so scared, petrified, terrified. Oh my God, I pulled out the chain and I saw, the chain was made up of multiple cubes. On one end of the cube were 4 petals. On the other end of the cube were 4 holes. So these 4 petals would go into those 4 holes. Like that, it had been link and the whole chain had been made. At one particular point, the 4 petals had come out and had got crushed in. It was as if somebody had plucked the chain and crushed both of those ends of the chain. And I said, Swami, I thought that chain would protect me from the evil eye. Just as I thought that this would be my savior and my protector, that talisman had got so badly crushed and it had cut. I immediately called one of my classmates who had got one such chain of his also, which had got slightly damaged. A chain which Swami had given him, it had got slightly damaged and he had got it repaired by a jeweler. So I called him to ask him for the contact details of that jeweler. He responded and he said, "Don't worry, Arvind. This jeweler is very special and he knows that these things are created by Swami. So he will take utmost care. He will do it." And he gave me the contact details. But somehow, instead of going to the jeweler, I called up another brother Sudhindran, who again, his stories are beautiful. So many experiences with Bhagawan, all angels of Swami. I felt like calling brother Sudhindran, and I am grateful even to this day for that thought that Swami put in the head. I called him and I said, "Brother, that chain that Swami gave got cut. I am planning to go and get it repaired." He said, "Arvind, Swami gave you that chain. So just inform Swami before you do anything." I said, "Okay. But brother, what if Swami says that the purpose for which the chain was given to you has been served? It has protected you, so now it's all right. I'm very attached to this chain. I want to wear it." I told this to him. He said, "Tell the same thing to Swami. Just tell Swami that, Swami, the purpose is served, but can I repair and wear this chain? I like to wear it. Just inform Swami, because Swami has given it to you." So I agreed, and instead of going to the hospital immediately, I had bath, and I was thinking that in the evening I will try to tell this to Swami, but how do I tell it to him without showing the caste? I was in all these thoughts. Even as I was in these thoughts, the loudspeakers came on and the Veda chanting was heard. That meant only one thing. It meant that Swami was coming out for morning darshan. In 2009, morning darshan was a rarity. Very few days when Swami came for morning darshan. So when I heard this Vedam chanting going on, I decided, let me rush to the mandir now. I quickly called my colleague and said, "Please come and drop me to mandir immediately." And he came and dropped me to the mandir. I hobbled into the mandir with my crutch. And because Swami had already arrived, I did not go in the hall and sit. Instead, I went into the bhajan hall. And I just felt that when Swami is entering the interview room, if I can get an opportunity to interact with him, it would be great. With that desire, I went and sat in the bhajan hall, which was empty. A couple of boys in the front. I also went and sat there. And that day, as Swami was coming out of the interview room, after darshan, Swami went into the interview room. Within a few minutes, Swami came out. And as he was coming out, he turned to his right and looked into the bhajan hall and came into the bhajan hall. And as Swami came into the bhajan hall, he looked at me, and I was sitting there. I had forgotten to hide my caste. He looked at my foot and with so much love and concern. Even when you think of it, you get so touched, because only God is capable of showering that love of a mother on a million people. So much concern. Swami asked, "Hey, what happened?" So beautiful. It's such a wonderful meditation just to think of the way he told, There's so much love. In that one moment, Swami makes you feel that I have come only for you. And dear brothers and sisters, that is the truth. Swami has come only for each and every one of us. He is capable of that, because he is infinite love. And we have our own Swami for us, who will never let go of us. He asked, "Hey, what happened?" I went to him and I said, "Swami, I was playing badminton and I fell." Papam. Swami expressed empathy. But I was in a state of a kind of shock and fear, because my chain had snapped, right? And this was the chain I felt was the one that bound me to Swami. I considered Swami putting this chain on my neck as a spiritual marriage between me and Swami, and I felt that had got cut. So I told Swami, leave my foot, Swami, it will get healed. Why did my chain snap? And even as I said that, Swami parted my collar and began to look at my neck. I told him, Swami, it is no longer there. I told you it has snapped. It's in my pocket. Would you like to see it? Swami nodded. So I put my hand in my pocket, took out the chain and showed it to him. As I showed it in my hand, with his finger, he slowly moved and he saw the chain. Then he picked it, he put it back in my pocket and he said, you keep it there. I will give you a strong chain, Swami said. And then he turned his attention to another student who was sitting there. And he was wanting to travel back to Assam because there was some problem and he was praying to Swami about that, and Swami began to talk to him. As I sat there, I thought, now what should I do? Swami put the chain back in my pocket. And Swami has said he will give me another chain, but I don't know when he will give me. I have known cases where Swami has told somebody he will give something to them and it has come after 5 years, sometimes after 10 years. So I don't know when Swami is going to give it to me. He will definitely give because every word of Swami is a Veda Vakya. So my thought was, I will ask Swami that, Swami, till you give me that other chain, can I get this repaired and wear? So with that in mind, as I noticed that Swami stopped talking to that other boy, I again got upon my knees. Swami turned to me and looked in my eyes and told, I told you I will give you a strong one. And as our eyes met, time froze. So beautiful. It's like looking at infinity. It's like looking at eternity. It's so magical. It's so beautiful to look into the eyes of God. You just wish that at that point in time you can just let go of everything and become one. That's it, enough. Nothing else is needed. It's sad that we return back to life. We return back to the body and continue on. That's such a magical moment when he looks eye into eye with you. He looks deep down and looks into your very bare naked soul. And you feel the same, that you are looking deep down because he's so open, he's so transparent. It's like he's opening up himself to you. It's so beautiful. He looked into the eyes. I looked into his eyes. Then Swami waved his hand and materialized this sculpture. It has a Ganesha there, a standing Ganesha. Ganesha is often used also to ward away all these evil eye and negativity, Drishti. Swami materialized and he said, I told you I'll give a strong one. He told me to bend, slowly put it around my neck, patted me on the cheek and said, only love, 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 love. I was in tears. Why? Because when he had given me the first chain in 2005, 4 years before, that time also he had patted me on my cheek and said, only love, love, love. He not only gave me another chain, a strong one which has never broken after that. It's now what? It's 2022 now. It's 13 years. It's been there on my neck. He gave me another chain which does not break, which is strong, along with the same words that he had given the first chain with. And I returned back to my place in tears. I was thinking, this is what Swami does, I was crying a few hours before, but those were hot tears of sorrow. And now I was again crying. These were cool, comforting tears of joy. Needless to say, that morning after Swami left, I went straight to the hospital. Cast away the cast. I could walk. I was fine. Dear brothers and sisters, let us remember that when we have Swami's anugraha or grace, then the Navagraha or the 9 planets can do nothing to us. At the same time, the other lesson that I learned from this incident is the world is much more than the physical world that we see around through our senses. It's much more. Swami would say, Bhur Bhuva Suvaha. Bhur is the materialization. Bhuvaha is the vibration and Suvaha is the radiation. Swami would say that world exists at these 3 levels and physical world is the grossest And at the least, at the lowest level, there is a vibrational world, there is a spiritual world, and many things that Swami does, they are at the level of that vibrational world and the spiritual world. That is why they do not seem to make sense at the level of the physical world. Though many things that Swami does make sense at the physical world level also, some things do not, because he is doing at the highest level. It is best that we surrender to him, trust him, and know that whatever he does is for our good. There is no need to fear. Why fear when he is here? Why fear when he is near? Why fear when he is so dear? Dear Swami, may our love for you keep growing stronger every passing moment. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.